Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad Group welcomes everyone once again to the weekly Harikatha. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. So, before we begin, the announcements for this week. Sunday, May 30th is the disappearance day of Srila Ramananda Roy. 500 years ago, in the district of Puri, in the village of Bentapur, adjacent to Brahmagiri Alarnath, there lived a great devotee named Bhavananda Rai. Bhavananda had 5 sons, the eldest of which was Ramananda. Descendants of his family line are known as Chaudhary Patnayaka. It is said that Lord Chaitanya visited the birthplace of Ramananda in Alalnath every year. Ramananda was the governor of East and West Godavari and a minister of King Prataprudra, a great statesman of that period. Ramananda was also a poet and a scholar. When Bhavananda met Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord embraced him and said, "Formerly you appeared as Pandu, and your 5 sons appeared as the 5 Pandavas." The 5 sons of Bhavananda Roy were Ramananda Rai, Patnayaka Gopinath, Kalanidhi, Sudhanidhi, and Nayaka Vaninatha. The Gauranga Desha Deepika states that Ramananda Rai was Arjuna in his past incarnation. He is also considered to have been an incarnation of the Gopi Lalita, although in the opinion of others, he was an incarnation of Vishakha Devi. He was a most confidential devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, "Although I am a sannyasi, my mind is sometimes perturbed when I see a woman. But Ramananda Rai is greater than me, for he is always undisturbed, even when he touches a woman." Only Ramananda Rai was able to act this way. No one should imitate him. Unfortunately, there are rascals who imitate the activity of Ramananda Rai. In Lord Chaitanya's final pastimes, both Ramananda Rai and Sarupa Damodara were always engaged in reciting suitable verses from Srimad Bhagavatam to pacify the Lord in his ecstatic feelings of separation from Krishna. When Lord Chaitanya was about to leave for South India, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya advised him to meet Ramananda Rai, for he declared that there was no devotee as advanced in understanding the conjugal love of Krishna and the gopis. Sunday, June 6th is Appara Ekadashi, so please fast from beans and grains. And also Sunday, June 6th is the appearance of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das was born 4 years after Mahaprabhu took sannyas. When Mahaprabhu disappeared, he couldn't have been more than 20 years old. He was initiated by Sri Nityananda Prabhu and was apparently the last disciple whom Sri Nityananda accepted. He accompanied Sri Janava Mata to the Khituri Mahotsav. Shri Krishna Dasa Kaviraj Goswami has glorified Vrindavana Das Thakur as the Vedvyas of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The pastimes of Krishna have been described in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Vedvyas. Vrindavan Das in the Vedvyas of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya. He has composed Chaitanya Mangala, which destroys those who hear it, so that we can understand the glories of Chaitanya Nitai, the essence of the conclusions regarding the devotional service as expanded in Srimad Bhagavatam, and the limits of the conclusions regarding Krishna Bhakti. He has composed this great literature to uplift mankind. To compose such a work is not conceivable for a human being, therefore, we can understand that Sri Chaitanya himself is speaking through him. I offer my obeisances tens of millions of times at the lotus feet of that person who has given us such a scripture which can deliver the whole world. So, these were our important announcements. And in the last session, His Grace Satchitananda Das Prabhuji beautifully explained the transcendental pastime of Krishna and how Krishna disguised himself as someone who is selling bangles as Manihari. Prabhuji also reiterated the definitions of the various definitions of Hare, Krishna, and Rama in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and as explained by Jiva Goswami in the Mahamantra Deepika. Also, Prabhuji started the explanation of the third sloka, which is very, very important. And one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a very humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Our sincere thanks to His Grace Satchitananda Dasa Prabhuji for sharing with us this different and wonderful explanations, and which will definitely help us increase our bhava and bhakti and help us progress in our sadhana. Now, we now request His Grace Satchitananda Prabhuji to kindly commence part 13 of Shri Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we will be continuing verse number 3. Trinadapi sunichena taro eva sahishnuna amanena manadena kirtanya sadari, from the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. And in relation to that, there's a wonderful song that expresses deep humility, composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur from his book Sharanagati. There are 7 songs in that section where Thakur Bhaktivinoda explains the 6 different branches of full surrender. And in each branch, he has composed several bhajans. And the very first branch is Dainya, or humility. And he has composed 7 different songs. Today we will sing song number 4, Amar Jivana Sada Pape Ratha Nahika Punyera Lesha, which is perfect in the discussion of the 3rd verse of Shri Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. The translation is displayed, so feel free to read it. That way it will be even more clear what real humility is. Amar jivana sada pape rata nahi ka punyera lesha. Amar jivana sada pape rata nahi ka punyera lesha. Parera yudvega diyachi je koto diyachi jivera klesha. Parera yudvega diyachi je koto diyachi jivera klesha. Amar jivana sada pape rata nahi ka punyera lesha. Parera udvega diyachi je koto diyachi jivera klesha. Parera yudvega diyachi je koto diyachi jivera klesha. Ho yamar jivana sada pape rata nahi ka punyera lesha. Nija sukha lagi pape nahi dori doya hina swartha paro. Nija sukha lagi pape nahi dori doya hina swartha paro. Para sukha dukhi sada mithya bhashi para dukha sukha karo. Ho para sukhe dukhi sada mithya bhashi para dukha sukha karo. Ho yamar jivana sada pape rata nahi ka punyera lesha. Ashesha kamna rudhi majhe mo krodhi dambha parayana. Ashesha kamna rudhi majhe mo krodhi dambha parayana. Madamata sada vishaya mohita himsa garva vibhushana. Ho madamata sada vishaya mohita himsa garva vibhushana. Amar jivana sada pape rata nahi ka punyera lesha. Nidralasya hata sukarya virata akarya योगियामि निद्रालस्य हठ सुकार्यवीरट अकार्य योगियामि प्रतिष्ठा लागिया सत्याचरण लोभहट सदा कामी प्रतिष्ठा लागिया सत्य आचरण लोभहट सदा कामी हो यामार जीवन सदा पापे रत नाही कपुन्येर लेश एहेनो दुर्जन सज्जन वर्जित अपराधी निरंतर एहेनो दुर्जन सज्जन वर्जित अपराधी निरंतर शुभ कार्य शून्य सदायनर्थ मनः नाना दुखे जरा जरा हो शुभ कार्य शून्य सदायनर्थ मनः नाना दुखे जरा जरा हो यामार जीवन सदा पापे रथ नाही कपुन्येर लेश वार्धक्ये এখন उपाय विहीन ताते दीन अकिंचन वार्धक्ये এখন उपाय विहीन ताते दीन अकिंचन भक्ति विनोद प्रभुरा चरणे ठाकुर भक्ति विनोद प्रभुरा चरणे कोरे दुख निवेदना हो यामार जीवन सदा पापे रत नाही कपुन्येर लेश नाही कपुन्येर लेश नाही कपुन्येर लेश परेर उद्वेग दियाची जे कोतो दियाची जीवेर क्लेश परेर उद्वेग दियाची जे कोतो दियाची जीवेर क्लेश हो यामार जीवन सदा पापे रथ नाही कपुन्येर लेश हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Namo Namah Tulasi Krishna Preyasi, Namo Namah Tulasi Krishna Preyasi, Namo Namah Radha Krishna Seva Pao Ei Abhilashi, Kripa Kori Koro Tare, Vrindavanavasi, Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Ei Abhilashi, Krupa Kori Koro Tare, Vrindavanavasi, Moreya Vilas, Vilas Kunje Diovas, Noyone Rivo Sada, Jugala Ruparasi, Moreya Vilas, Vilas Kunje Diovas, Noyone Rivo Sada, Jugala Ruparasi, Ei Vedana Dharo Sakhira Nugata Koro, Sevayadhikara Diye Karo Nijadasi, Ei Nivedana Dharo Sevayadhikara Diye Karo Nijadasi, Dina Krishna Dase Koe Jana Mor Hoy, Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Jena Hasi, Dina Krishna Dase Koe Jana Mor Hoy, Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Jena Hasi, Tulasi Krishna Preyasi, Namo Namo तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयासी नमो नमो। यानी कानी चा पापानी ब्रह्मत्यादि कानी चा तानि तानि प्राणा शांति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादि कानि च तानि तानि प्राणा शांति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय गौरा निताय जय किशोर किशोरी। जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा। जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी नयन पथगामी भव तुम्हें। जय राधा मदन मोहन राधा मदन मोहन राधे राधे। जयतां सुरतो पंगो मम मंदमते गति। मत्सर्वस्व पादाम्भोजो राधा मदन मोहन। दिव्य वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रुमा श्रीमत रत्नांगद सिंहासनस्थो श्री श्रीला राधा गोविंद देवो। प्रेष्ठालिभि सेव्यमानो स्मरामि जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे राधे। श्रीमान रास रसारंभी वंशी वट स्थितः कर्षणे स्वर्णेर्वेणुर्गोपी श्री गोपीनाथाय श्रेयस्तु ना। जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे राधे। जय राधा रमण राधा रमण राधे राधे। जय राधा गोकुलानंद राधा गोकुलानंद राधे राधे। जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधे राधे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय वृंदावन धाम। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे राधे। जय ललिता विशाखा राधे श्याम। जय ललिता विशाखा राधे श्याम। जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय। जय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि। पतित पावन गौर हरि। आजानुलंबितो भुजौ कनकायवधातो। संकीर्तनै पितरवो कमलायताक्षो। विश्वम्भरो द्विजवरो युगधर्म पालो। वंदे जगत प्रिय करो करुणाय अवतारो। जय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि। पतित पावन गौर हरि। बोलो निताई गौरांग गौर हरि। हो निताई गौरांग गौर हरि। प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव। जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। 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 चैतन्य शिष्टाष्टकम। चेतो दर्पण मार्जनम भवमहादावाग्नि निर्वापणम। श्रेय कैरव चंद्रिका वितरणम। विद्यावधू जीवनम। आनंदाम्बुधिवर्धनम। प्रतिपद पूर्णामृत स्वादनम। सर्वात्मा स्नपन्नम। परम विजयते श्री कृष्ण संकीर्तनम। नाम नामकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्ति। तत्र अर्पित नियमेत स्मरणेन कालः। एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममयपि दुर्दैवम् ईदृशम् इह जानिनानुरागः तृणादपि सुनीचेन तरोइव सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेना कीर्तन्या सदा हरि ना धनं ना जनं ना सुन्दरीं कविता वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनि ईश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिर् अहैतुकी त्वयि अयि नन्दतीर्णतनुज किं करो पतिता माम विषमे भवाम्बुधो कृपया तव पाद पंकज स्थितधूलिं सदृशं विचिन्तया नयनं जलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकीर्निचितं वपु कदा तव नाम गृहणेषु भविष्यति युगायितं निमिषेण चक्षुषा प्रवश्यायितं शृणायितं जगतः सर्वं गोविन्द विरहेण मे आश्लिष्य पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनं मर्म हर्तु करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातो लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्य एव न परः मत्प्राणनाथस्य एव न परः मत्प्राणनाथस्य एव न परः श्री चैतन्य शिष्टाष्टकम की जय। आराध्यो भगवान व्रजेश तनयस तद्धाम वृंदावनम रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधूवर्गे रातया कल्पिता श्रीमद् भागवत पुराणे अमलम प्रेम पुमार्थो महान् श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभो मतैदं नायत्रयाग्रह परः वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नवनीरदनिन्दितकान्तिधरं रससागरनागर भूपवरं शोभवङ्किमचारु शिखण्डशिखिं भज कृष्णनिधिं व्रज राजसुतं भज कृष्णनिधिं व्रज राजसुतं राधिका सरोदइन्दु निन्दिमुख मण्डली वन्द्ये श्रीपादपद्म वृषभानु नन्दिनी वन्द्ये श्रीपादपद्म वृषभानु नन्दिनी वन्द्ये श्रीपादपद्म वृषभानु नन्दिनी। रासेश्वरी श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय। पतित पावन निताय गौर सुंदर की जय। ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ीय संप्रदाय आचार्य गुरुवर की जय। His Divine Grace AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today again we have gathered in the Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad group, and we will be continuing in this amazing, divine Shri Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, verse number 3. Today is the 13th session, 13 weeks into the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. So sublime, so divine, so amazing, with the highest concepts of theism that are imbibed in these 8 verses spoken by the golden volcano, Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, Sridhar Maharaj, has described him as the golden volcano in the Gambhira. Gambhira is the place, if you all remember, we have some devotees here from the Jagannath Puri area, so obviously they know. But for those, if you all recollect, I've mentioned it, it was a very small room, perhaps about 10 feet by 10 feet, or perhaps even a little bit smaller. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is in Jagannath Puri, just across from the temple's main gate, in a small little lane, walking distance. And on the left side, it is the house of Shri Chandrasekhar Acharya. And in that house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had this one little room. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his internal bhajan there. And there were two very intimate associates of Mahaprabhu with him. And one of them is today is that personality's great personality, Rai Ramanand's appearance day. So Rai Ramanand and Sarup Damodar Goswami, they were the two most intimate servitors, associates, and uh, and Mahaprabhu's most what should I say the correct words? Fanning would be the correct word. Fanning Mahaprabhu's internal mood, just like when a fire is there and when somebody fans the fire turns into a big huge blaze. So they were very instrumental or catalytic in Mahaprabhu's uh, inner mood in Jagannath Puri. Um, we seek the blessings of Rai Ramananji, especially Prabhupada said that On the appearance and a disappearance day of a Vaishnava Acharya, we can directly ask for their mercy. And to understand the bhav, the transcendental emotions, certainly we need the blessings of those Vaishnava Acharyas who can give it to us. Thakur Bhakti Vinod, in one of his bhajans in Ohe Vaishnav Thakur, Doyar Shagar, he mentions that Ekaki Amar Nahi Paibal, Harinam Sankirtane, Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya, Deho Krishna Naam Dhane, Krishna se Tomar, Krishna Dite Par, Tomar Shakti Ache, Ami to Kangal, Krishna Krishna Boli, Dhai Tava Pache Pache, Dayal Vaishnav Thakur. Meaning, oh Vaishnav Thakur, Krishna is yours. A pure devotee is able to fully control Krishna. We have mentioned this. The mood of Rajvasis, the mood in the topmost spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan, is different from the moods of the other spiritual planets that exist in the Vaikuntha realm. In the Vaikuntha realm, the relationship is more of awe and reverence, a lot of reverence, reverential uh, attitude, demeanor towards the Lordship, and predominantly it is in the mode of servitorship in the Dasyaras. But Golok Vrindavan is very special. Golok Vrindavan is that realm, or Sri Vrindavan Dham or the Vraj Mandal is so special that nobody cares to know if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna himself is covered by a very special magical spell by Yogamaya, where even he himself doesn't know that he is the Supreme Lord. And that magical wand is also casting a spell on all the Vrajvasis with the permission of Sri Krishna. In this material world, there is Mahamaya, and in the spiritual world, it is Yogamaya. Yoga means, in Sanskrit, if we simply translate it into English, it means to connect. We hear this word yoga. Now it is very much a common word even in the English vocabulary. But very few people really understand the ultimate meaning of yoga. Nowadays, we see that there are on every township, in some of the major shopping centers or around there, we find yoga studios, hot yoga, this yoga, that yoga, hatha yoga, under those banners. So it is simply a business, and it has been misclassified as yoga because these are simply exercises that were taught by the great sages of India with two purposes. One purpose is to first control the senses, and when one's senses are controlled, the second and the very important actual connection or yoga is to connect with the Supreme Lord. So if the second and the most important element is missing, then that yoga is not easy. It's not yoga. Sri Prabhupada called it simply some gymnastic exercise to keep the body fit. And we are not this body. Is it not true? We are all have heard this a million times. Bhagavad Gita is talking about that time again. Sri Krishna is saying that you are not this body. So many different verses and different ways Krishna is explaining Arjun that you are a spirit soul. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyo ajo nitya shashwata ayam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharira. It is the soul is never born. It never dies. It is the oldest. And when the body is slain, or when the body is no more, the soul continues to exist. So the body and the soul are two different entities, if I may say so. Uh, the soul resides in the body, and the moment the soul leaves the body, the body is pronounced dead. And so, to keep the body fit without the major component of Krishna consciousness, without connecting to Sri Krishna, the Supreme Lord, in any of his features, most of the time, the yogis in the old days, the good old days, in Satya Yoga, etc., Dhayatam Vishnu, they used to meditate and they used to perform all these different exercises of yoga for controlling the senses. And once the senses were controlled, they would realize that they are not this body, they are the spirit soul. Great yogis like Dhruv Maharaj, he controlled so much. But even Hiranyakashipu was a great yogi. But what was the difference? The yogi Hiranyakashipu sat on the Mandrachal mountain for thousands and thousands of years, completely emancipated. His body had been drawn down to bones. There was an anthill that had formed when he sat in meditation. But his connection was to kill God, not to connect with God. And that is when Lord Brahma appeared and asked him, "What can I do for you?" And he says, "Give me this boon that I will become eternal." And Lord Brahma said, "That's not possible because I myself am not eternal. I also die after a certain number of years. Although I live up to 3 or 4 trillion earthly years, but after that, death comes to me as well. So I'm sorry, you are not approaching the right entity for that if you want to become immortal." So then, okay, he tricked Lord Brahma by saying, "I should not die by any animal, any man, any demigod, neither inside my palace, outside my palace, neither in water, neither in air, neither at night, neither during the day, neither by any weapon, neither by any dead, neither by anything alive, etc." He covered all his bases. And eventually, when Lord Brahma granted all those, then he became invincible in one sense, and he created havoc, and he was the enemy. He didn't want to connect to Vishnu. But whereas there are devotees like Dhruv Maharaj, who stood in tapasya for many, many years, he stopped eating food, and then later on he just ate berries and leaves that were fallen on the ground. He stopped doing that. He stopped even breathing. Now that is a very, very advanced stage in yoga, where you can even control your life air. Once the life air is inside, and if you can control it, and if you don't let the life air out, that then you will not die. That is one of the ultimate in sense control. But eventually, his goal was to have the association of the Supreme Lord. That is real yoga. And because of that yoga, Lord Narayana appeared in front of him. Whereas, due to the yoga of Hiranyakashipu, the demon, no Lord Narayana or any of his avatars, they did not appear in front of him. So we have to understand what is yoga is to connecting with the Supreme Lord, with whatever faculty we have, by words, mind, body, senses. Uh, Risikena Risikesha Sevanam Tad Bhakti Ruchyate. Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratena Nirmalam. We should get rid of all our bodily designations. That is Upadi. Upadi means some kind of a troublesome situation, and that is caused in this world today is due to that, due to the delineation. Oh, I'm American. Oh, you're Canadian. Oh, we're going to block the border. Oh, you guys are not welcome to Canada. The Canadians have shut the American border, and the Americans are complaining that they want vaccine from us, but they don't want to open the borders. This Prime Minister Trudeau is really silly. So such comments are being passed. That's the news these days. So these delineations are man-made, created: American, Canadian, Indian, Punjabi, Gujarati, Odia, etc. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam, because we are not this body. Body was born in a certain country, born in a certain place, born to a certain parents practicing a particular faith. So then we identify with the entire entourage and the entire package, and we create our own identity. But as far as the Vedic culture is concerned, the eternal Sanatan Dharma, the eternal religion, Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishnir Nityadas, the 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 original constitutional position of the soul is that this identity is that the eternal identity is that is the eternal servant of the supreme personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and which means that Krishna and Krishna's associates. So this is the and we in the last session we went through a wonderful bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that describes the third verse of the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. uh, Yadi Yadi uh, Hari Kirtane, Yadi Hari Shri Hari Kirtane. If you want to really do real kirtan or real yoga or real meditation, yoga means again to connect to Krishna, then one has to be very humble. And then he goes on to describe all those wonderful qualities that are described in the third verse. What are those four qualities? Uh, Humbler than a blade of grass. Number two, tolerant like a tree. Number three, giving respects unto all. And number four, not expecting any kind of respect for the self. Now, and these instructions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives are the summum bonum of obtaining pure bhakti. You know, bhakti is also of different types. There is Sakam bhakti, there is Mishra bhakti. Mishra means mixed. Mixed bhakti means like it's that kind of bhakti where we have some material motive. So that is the reason why we approach the Supreme Lord. And the Lord is very kind. He grants those. And Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, generally speaking, people approach me for these four things. Four kinds of classes of people they approach me. Arti, Artharti, Jnani, and Jigyasu. Four. Arti means those who are in distress, dukhi. Uh, People either due to some kind of a miserable situation, they approach the Lord, which is good. Nothing wrong with that. Krishna says that's acceptable. They come to me and I can, you know, um, mitigate their distress. Um, Arti means those who need money. Sorry, those who are Artharti. Artharti means those who need money, wealth. Jnani, those who want to obtain knowledge. There's a lot of people in this world who are like they want knowledge, more and more knowledge, and like that they pray to the Supreme Lord or to some of the demigods like even Saraswati Mata for that talent, so that they can acquire knowledge. And then the fourth category is a jigyasu. Jigyasu means one who is inquisitive, and that inquisitiveness can be variegated in nature. It can be inquisitiveness about this. Uh, they are That inquisitiveness can be the inquisitiveness of this material world and about so many different things around us. Space, the moon, the sun, the stars, and there could be inquisitiveness about some kind of spirituality. So Sukritino, my dear friend Danpran Prabhu just mentioned in the chat box. They are Sukrutino. So they have some kind of piety. So therefore they approach me. Generally, people who do not have that piety will not approach the Lord. Then they will become more and more arrogant and proud, and they will approach other means. And so the point is that Krishna says these people approach me, and that also we have in this category even the demigods like the Devi Devatas. They do not possess 100% pure bhakti. One has to note that, but they are worshipable. Why? Because they are still serving Krishna. They are still Vaishnavas, and they are still the Das of Krishna. So therefore, their position is very glorious. Ah, but they they are not fully renounced. They still need their opulent palaces. They still need their opulent lifestyle, and they still need a lot of other things along with the service of Krishna. But the kind of bhakti that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been preaching, especially in the Shikshashtakam, which came out like a golden, he is a golden volcano. In the Gambhira, He was doing his internal bhajan, all about spreading the holy name of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He did the Padayatra. He traveled all over India and he gave darshan to a lot of people, and he went and took darshan of a lot of other different deities, etc. But it was time for him to now do his own reclusive bhajan with his two most intimate associates in the Gambira in Puri, to achieve a very, very uh, high desire, internal desire that he had. Krishna had an internal desire, three internal desires which he wanted to fulfill. And that is the reason why he took to this bhajan. And that bhajan, as we had explained, he first talks about chanting the holy names that can give you the results, transcendental results. And then we explained in the first verse that went on for about 6 weeks, that what are the internal and the external reasons behind Mahaprabhu's preaching of the Mahamantra, and the external reason will bring us to the internal reason, the sambandha, the relationship, then the process, which is known as the abhidya, and the last stage, which is the goal, known as the prayojan. So this Hare Krishna Mahamantra can is actually all three. It can reward all three of us. In the beginning, it will help us to establish a relationship between us, the Jiva, and the Supreme Lord. And then the process is there. And there, along the process, because it's a live mantra, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is constantly for the sincere seeker, and under the guidance of a pure Vaishnavas. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a live mantra that guides us, that shows us many darshans, that's constantly, because the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is Sri Krishna and his intimate associates. In the second verse, we describe that. Nam Nam Agari Bahuda Nija. The word Nija Sarva Shaktis. My own internal potencies are present in that. So Mahaprabhu is the son of Nanda Maharaj, a Krishna who took the mood of Srimati Radharani, uh, and therefore he is known as Gauranga. He is known as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the mood of Radha, who is the topmost devotee, the topmost pinnacle of devotion, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually wanted to relish that. While sitting in Golok Vrindavan, he was saying that, hey, I'm looking at all these Vrajvasis, how happy they are, seeing me, and especially these gopis, and especially this one gopi, Radharani, is so crazy. She is tasting my sweetness and she is going nuts, bonkers. So, what is it in me that I also need to taste that? And if you all remember, I had given that example that when there's a little baby uh, child in the lap of the mother, and when the mother is giggling and making different gestures, the baby is jumping in joy in the lap. And the more and more the little gestures the mother does by touching the chin or touching the belly button, at that time, the child is simply, is in ecstasy. And the mother is thinking that, wow, you know look, and then she calls the husband or maybe the siblings, look at this baby, look at this baby. So the thing is, the joy of the mother is separate from the joy of the baby, in one sense, that whatever joy the baby is feeling is indeed of a higher nature than the one who is instrumental in giving that joy. The joy of the baby is much more than the joy of the mother. So, similarly, Krishna wanted to taste his own sweetness, but how could he do it without actually taking the emotions of Radharani? And that is one of the internal reasons why he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just to revise a little bit. And then the second reason was that what does she feel, Radharani? The internal pleasure that she gets, I want to taste that. And the third reason was that I want to glorify the prem of Radharani, the love that she has for me. Indeed, her glory should be sung everywhere. Her glory should be known. And that is the reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only avatar that openly came and gave this Hare Krishna Mahamantra that actually has that transcendental emotions of the amorous love, of the Madhurya Rasa that is imbibed in it. Although the Mahamantra has been existing since time immemorial and in different yugas and different devotees and different sampradayas have been chanting, but the consciousness is very important. And accordingly, the Mahamantra, the live mantra, Krishna and Krishna's associates grant us the results because they reserve the right. Just like the owner reserves the right of how much they want to open the door, how much they want to talk, just standing at the door, inside the living room, inside the kitchen, inside the dining room, or maybe take the person into the bedroom and have a discussion with the person there. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam satathaiva bhajamiham. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, as one worships me, I reciprocate accordingly. So this is the Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhav, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was full of that rasa, that mellow. When he obtained the mood of Srimati Radharani, he was like a golden volcano bursting. And when it burst, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is discussed in the Antya Leela, 20th chapter, which is the last part, and the Samam Bonam is the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam that flowed like golden lava from the mouth of the golden volcano. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like a heap of gold. He was like a golden volcano. When he danced in front of the Rath in Jagannath Puri, it was like as if a huge mountain of gold was right there, in front of everyone because of his complexion, because of his divinity. So, very rightfully, Vaishnava Acharyas have described him as the golden volcano of love, of divine love, because he had obtained QED. Does anybody remember this term? Q period, E period, D period. We used to do that at the end of mathematical equations or in the end of some long physics calculations. Uh, Means whatever has to be demonstrated, it has been demonstrated. It's a Latin word for quod erat demonstrata. We still remember we used to write that after we finished the entire equation in school when the teacher asked us to come to the blackboard. So now she knew that we had done, and then she would check the equation. QED, quod erat demonstrata, in Latin means, basically in English means, whatever has to be demonstrated, it has been demonstrated, or whatever has to be achieved, it has been achieved. So the Gambira was the QED for Krishna Nandanandan, quod erat demonstrata. Anyways, so coming back to the third verse, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had compiled this wonderful bhajan expressing the entire third verse. And then in that, we explained that why should one be humbler than a blade of grass? Uh, we have explained that the grass also, when somebody tramples the grass, and once you lift the foot, the grass has the tendency from the from this position that is there, it can spring up again. So one has to be humbler than a blade of grass. That is the quality of these four qualities are that of a pure Vaishnava. And this is very difficult to attain. I tell you, it becomes even more difficult for the speaker, which is me, because when I speak on certain subjects that are so elevated, and I know I've not even reached an iota of it, but through the process, our prayers is that we may reach that. We do not want to become demigods. We do not want to go to the heavenly planets. That is not our goal. Even if we have to stay here, Swargeshu, Narkeshu, Apavargeshu, Samatulya Darshana for a Vaishnava, whether one goes to Swarga, to the heavenly planets, Krishna's will, there also we will serve Sri Krishna, whatever his will is. Swargeshu, Narkeshu. And if we have to go to hell, we will go to hell, no problem. Like Naradji, he goes to hell, he goes to heaven, he goes to the spiritual planets, whatever Krishna's wishes. Not that we are selective. We become very selective, even in the temple, when somebody gives us some service. Prabhuji, Mataji, can you clean the floor? Then suddenly they will give a nice 32 teeth green. Prabhuji, I have some seva in the pujari room. I have some seva to do some kirtan. Prabhuji, can you find somebody else? So, like this, nobody wants to do those menial jobs. Um, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, let me tell you a little pastime. When in the Gaudiya Math, when this is prior to the formation of ISKCON, the movement is known as Gaudiya Math. Gaudiya means we are all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because we follow the Vaishnavas from Gaud Desh, which is West Bengal, and which is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So Gaud Desh is Gaud, and actually speaking, those Gaud Brahmanas, they had come from Karnataka, the Saraswat, Gauda Saraswat Brahmins. They had, because the Navadvip in West Bengal was the most highest learning seat. Just like, we call that if you want to go to certain medical school, go to John Hopkins, Howard and Stanford and Rutgers for engineering. So these all universities have a certain specialty. So similarly, back in those days, Banaras was considered a seat of learning, and even today, Banaras has many BHU. Banaras Hindu University is still there. um, but in those times it was different. Nowadays it is mostly academic in nature. There was no devotional spirit. I'm sorry, there is no devotional spirit in today's, even the theistic education, whether it is studying the Bible or it is studying the scriptures. It's not with the So that is the reason, personally speaking, I am not very much inclined to either be a part or teach these courses that are labeled Bhakti Shastri or Bhakti Vaibhav that are there in ISKCON. They are encouraging in one sense. And it is up to the individual, when you are studying something, how much you will be studying it with the eyes of devotion. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. This is what Lord Brahma says. It is with premanjana, with the eyes, the love of the ointment of love we should have when we are studying the scriptures also. Otherwise, it will become academic in nature. We will finish the verses, we will pass a certain exam that has got questions and answers, and at the end of the day, we are done and we got the certificate, and we can put a nice frame around it and put it in our library where the books are or where people are coming. So that is not the goal of pure bhakti. Honestly speaking, some people take objection when I speak in such a way, but that's okay. Uh, we have known many people that, professors in the University of Chicago, in the theism department, who have written a thesis on Rup Goswami, and has been awarded PhD, but never seen him in the temple, never seen him come down and bow down in front of Srila Prabhupada or in front of the deities. So what use is that degree? That conferring that PhD degree, in my personal opinion, is just an academic exercise, that will just only fan one's ego, that I have achieved this. That achievement, just like when we get a degree in the material world, a convocation, that is not our achievement. Our achievement is what Mahaprabhu is saying in this verse: humbler than a blade of grass. The gopis never had that education. Uddhav, actually, Uddhav was sent to Vrindavan by Sri Krishna from Dwarka. Uddhav, please go. You're my best friend. I want you to go to Vrindavan. There is an external reason and an internal reason why Krishna sent him and why Krishna picked him. So Uddhav had heard about the Krishna leaving Vrindavan from Krishna, and how much love Krishna received from the Vrajvasis. And Krishna himself was so despondent when he was speaking and thinking about Vraj. So Krishna said, Uddhav, why don't you go to Vrindavan and, uh, give them some kind of a solace, give them some comfort. And then Uddhav, according to the acharyas, was thinking that, oh, I am this great uh, devotee, or a disciple of the guru of all the demigods. Brihaspati. And and my scholarship has been well accepted, you know, in the heavenly planets, etc., everywhere. And he knew the Vedas and everything perfect. Of course, he knew it with the angle of devotion, no doubt about that. There was no tinge of Mayavadism in that. Otherwise, Krishna would never made him his friend. Not possible. But when he went to, and he was thinking along the way when he was going to Vrindavan, I think I'm going to be comforting Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, all the gopis, all the gopas, and even Radharani, by preaching to them from the different instructions of the Vedic scriptures, that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. Uh, Ashochanam asochastvam pragyavadanscha bhasase gatashuna gatasunscha nanu shochanti pandita. One will not lament either on the on the dead or the living, etc. And you're talking like a Pandit Arjun, but you're basically lamenting, that this is my great grandfather Bhishma Dev, this is my guru Dronacharya, this is my guru, my kul guru Kripacharya, these are my cousins. So you're on a bodily platform when you think like that, and when you act like that. And like that, there are so many different uh, instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. Dehino asmin yatha deha kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptis dhiras tatra na muhyati. So, one who is a very sober person, or one who is a very, very intellectual, but doesn't lament over the dead or the living, and the body just simply grows from childhood to youth, and from youth to old age, and at the end it perishes. So like that, there are so many, the Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu, like this. So one who is on a spiritual platform, looks upon everybody equally, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, and doesn't lament or doesn't hanker over anything. So he was thinking, all these things I will instruct them, and I will try to give them the instructions of the Vedas and the scriptures, and give them solace. I will give them comfort by giving them this spiritual instructions. But when Uddhav went, and when he met all the Vrajvasis, when he saw the separation, and when he saw how they were crying, and the love that they had for his best friend, Sri Krishna, he could not even utter a single word, in one sense, in terms of giving instruction. Rather, he took instruction from them about how to love Krishna. So when he went back, because he was the best friend of Krishna, Krishna wanted him to see firsthand and learn what real prem is, which is not tinged with even an iota of materialism. So like this is the line of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu's line talks about only pure bhakti. Mahaprabhu's line talks about only Srimad Bhagavatam, with its topmost essence of pure bhakti, nothing that is adulterated in any way. And that is the reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that this particular verse, it is said that you should wear it like neck beads in your neck. Very hard, very hard. We can hear but once we hear these instructions, and perhaps when we discuss it again and again, and that is why it is called satsang, when in the association of devotees, when we discuss such wonderful topics, although it may not be there in us, but ultimately what is going to happen is it's going to stay in the back of our heads, it's going to enter our hearts, and our bar and our standard will be raised. And eventually what will happen, a deep desire, a constant desire, when that happens to us, then Krishna within our heart recognizes that deep desire, and he makes our situation in such a way that the kripa will flow, and we can become Trinadapi Sunichena, Taro Iva Saishnunam, Amanena Manadena, and therefore we will be able to do Kirtanya Sadahari. So, humbler than a blade of grass, very humble. Indeed, we need to become that. Humbler than a blade of grass. Uh, and then more tolerant than a tree, because, or like a tree, the tree is such, the quality of a Vaishnava should be that although somebody may, disregard us or even be violent towards us, or may uh, perform or behave in such a way that it is not befitting even in the ordinary human society. But even then, if we are very tolerant, if we are very tolerant, just like a tree, although somebody may desecrate it by passing urine or stool underneath a tree, or sometimes some people cut the tree's branches and hurt the tree. But even then, the tree, as long as it is living, it doesn't stop giving the shade, it doesn't stop giving the fruits and flowers. And that is what the Vaishnavas are. That is being tolerant in a tree. Talking about, I was, in this, yesterday I did a session on Sharanagati, the first branch, which is humility. And it kind of coincides with our Trinadapi Sunichena, this third verse of the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. So uh, in ISKCON Niagara, I have decided that whenever I get the opportunity to speak, I will be speaking on Sharanagati until I finish all the six branches. So yesterday I finished, as much as I could, the first branch of Sharanagati. Sharanagati means full surrender. Everybody is surrendered, but all anybody who has got some faith has some surrender. But full surrender is like a solid, like a rock. We are not moving anywhere. Whether you kick us or you embrace us, oh my dear Lord, you are my Lord and Master, birth after birth after birth. This is basically the essence of the eighth verse of the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, which, when the time arises, we will continue. We will try to throw some light on it based on our ability. So my my point is that yesterday I was thinking in the morning when I speak about humility, besides just taking shlokas, or conveying shlokas from the scriptures, how about the actual life of the Vaishnavas, uh, you know the humility that they actually lived, this Trinadapi Sunichana, the third verse of Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. And I was thinking, a few incidences from Srila Prabhupada's life, then from his Gurudev Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then from his Gurudev Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, then from his Gurudev Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like that in the Parampara, Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, the examples of their humility. So I kind of, mm, um, kind of reminisce. I was reminiscing on that, and then I quoted a few things that I thought would help all of us. And then I also quoted, a couple verses from the Bhagavad Gita about Srimad Bhagavatam, how the different humble prayers of the different devotees, and of course the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we are discussing now. This Chaitanya Shikshashtakam is a part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya chapter 20. So, so maybe I should share the same thing with you all today about humility in terms of tolerant and a tree, and then amanena, not to expect any respect for the self, and manadena, giving respects unto all. So in the life of Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada boarded the ship in 1965 on the Jaldut, and Jaldut was the steamship that was coming to America after a uh, 40-day journey. So when Srila Prabhupada, he uh, he actually was almost had reached the Boston Harbor. Couple of miles into the ocean, all major ships, especially cargo ships, have to draw anchor. They throw the anchor and then they wait for the local harbor for guidance. Just like uh, I have a little experience in boating and also in flying. I used to have a pilot's license many years ago, and there is a certain pattern that you have to follow, a discipline, so that there are no accidents. So even when I used to fly, for those who are joining me from Chicago, I used to fly out of Midway Airport, and in Midway Airport, we all the airports have a pattern. So before you basically, even it's not that you just take the plane out of the hangar, or that has been parked outside the hangar. You can start up the engine and you can just simply take the first runway that's available and take off. No, It's not like that. What you have to do is basically first you have to do the entire inspection, etc., all the safety rules, and then you have to call the tower before you even move the plane, that hey, here's my intention and I'm going to be heading at a 240-degree west. So that's my intention. So I'm going to be heading dead west, 240 degrees. So all these, and then you have to fill out a form, a very brief pilot's thing, where you have to fill out all these things, call, and then there is a serial number of the aircraft that you need to write down, and some basic data. And that you have to then pick up the radio and tell the tower, read it out to them. And then the towers will say, November 34959, please stand by. So basically, November 3459 was the serial of the plane. So they have got their information. They have made a note of it. And then after a few minutes, when it is ready, they will say November 3459, approach highway number, approach runway number 30 through apron A, C, and F. So they would even guide you how you are supposed to approach that particular runway. You just not just whimsically take any path to that runway. So then they are watching and they are making sure that there is no other aircraft on that apron or that little strip that leads to the runway. And then they will ask you to stay short of the runway and line up basically. So there are a bunch of other aircraft in front of us. And those aircraft are also asked to stop before the takeoff position to make sure, because some of the runways there is cross traffic. A plane can be landing, and if you are landing and it is intersecting your runway, then you can get into an accident. So there's a lot of eyes out of the tower, an amazing job that they do, and they have all their radars and everything. So then the one who's holding short, who is in the first position, they are told, okay, whatever the aircraft number, you're ready to take off. So then they roll out, they catch the speed, and they go into the air. Now the second one, they announce that November 4599, please hold short of the runway, hold short of runway 30. So that means you're not supposed to enter the runway yet. You're holding short. Just like when we are in a traffic light, there is the white thick line where which the car is supposed to stay behind that white line. You cannot go beyond that. Technically speaking, you can get a ticket if you go beyond that white thick line at the signal light. So anyway, so like that, they keep announcing and then you take off one after another. Now, when you're landing, there's an interesting pattern. It is called a landing pattern where all pilots have to learn. It is not that you see a clear runway from the sky and you simply take a nosedive and then you land. No. So for a landing pattern, you have to actually first, before you even come to the airport, about at least about 5 miles out, you're supposed to announce the aircraft, and then you're supposed to announce that you're arriving. And once you arrive, they will say, okay, go into landing pattern. Now, what the landing pattern, when the tower tells you, that means you're actually circumambulating the airport in a certain L pattern. And as long as you're circumambulating until they tell you start your descent, you're not supposed to descend. So the landing pattern is generally about 2,000 feet above the above ground, and in that 2,000 or 3,000 feet, you're supposed to maintain the landing pattern. So as many aircraft there may be, they're simply going around in circles. Of course, they have a distance, no doubt about that, and they simply go in circles. And whoever is next, they will say, now you're ready to land. So then the final landing pattern is that they will break that circle, and one of them will enter into that space that will be facing their runway, and they will tell you which runway also. And then they are allowed to land. Then they land safely, and then immediately they are told, upon landing, take this apron, and go to your what is it called, the gate. Even the gate, they tell you which, the pilot is told how to go to the gate, because there are many different little paths that will lead to the gate. So you have to take a specific path so that, again, you don't kind of interfere with any other aircraft that is going to take off or land or whatever. So that is the air traffic. Now, talking about the sea, there's a traffic in the sea also, especially when these huge cargo ships come. They have to actually it is all decided upon which harbor they are in. Some of them are deep enough, the waters are deep enough, and there is enough space so they can drop anchor within 2 miles, and then a small pilot boat is sent when it's their turn. And that pilot boat is like a little pilot. It will go in front of that huge ship, and they will simply follow the pilot boat, because certain channels, they are narrow, they are rocky, and they simply navigate right behind that pilot boat. And sometimes even the harbor can be very narrow. We have seen that in many instances, especially if you go through the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal is very, very short, and there are many huge ships. Recently, if you all had heard that there was one ship that had that had actually got stuck, and then the entire Panama Canal was shut down because nobody could enter or nobody could go out. So if we don't follow the particular traffic patterns or the rules, then we can get into huge trouble. So at that time, when Prabhupada's Jaldut ship had anchored, waiting outside, Prabhupada saw the Boston Harbor. And when he saw the Boston Harbor, America, Srila Prabhupada wrote a very, very humble poem. In and I think we had done an explanation on this during last Nanda Utsav and Prabhupada's appearance day 2020, the day after Janmashtami. 2 days we were celebrating Srila Prabhupada's appearance. This is one of my personally my favorite poem as well. And it really, it thinks makes us reflect that where do we stand in our spiritual life? When our personalities like Srila Prabhupada, when personalities like Thakur Bhakti Vinod, when they are with their so deep humility. Prabhupada was like a thunderbolt on the outside, calling the atheistic personalities rascals, and he would get upset and very angry when the disciples would not follow his basic instructions for their well-being. And somebody would see them, like one Dr. Patel in Bombay. He had a good relationship with Prabhupada in terms of whenever Srila Prabhupada was in Juhu, Dr. Patel, who was a scholar, he had studied the Vedas, the Bible, the Quran, and he used to join Srila Prabhupada in the morning walk in Juhu, at Juhu Beach. And in every morning walk, Srila Prabhupada was always accompanied by his disciples. And during that, there was always some wonderful instruction that Srila Prabhupada conveyed through, through the morning walks, something or the other. And Srila Prabhupada really relished his conversations with Dr. Patel. The reason is because he was scholarly to begin with, and number two, through his interaction, his disciples would learn a lot of things. So Dr. Patel one time told Prabhupada, Swamiji, he used to call Prabhupada Swamiji, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Pandita Samadarshina, that one who is a Pandit, one who is a scholar, he will look upon everybody equally. So there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that a Brahmin, a learned person will look upon the dog, the elephant, the Brahmin equally. It's samadrishti, because everybody is a spirit soul inside and trapped in a particular body, whether in the body of a dog or in the body of an elephant or of a body of a human, a body of a high class human, Brahmin, etc. But a Pandita Samadarshina. Then Swamiji, why are you calling these scientists rascals and this and that? So Prabhupada simply smiled at Dr. Patel, and he took his cane and he pointed it to all his disciples that were surrounding him. This is happening right on the Juhu beach. He says, Dr. Patel, our version of Pandito Samadarshina is we give Krishna consciousness equally to all. So we do not distinguish. Like in India, we see that there are sannyasis who they criticize. Even today, some of them they criticize Prabhupada. They are envious that he's a sannyasi. He's not supposed to go to the foreign countries. He's not supposed to cross the seven seas, and he is breaking the rules of sannyas, etc. But Srila Prabhupada had a higher purpose beyond Varnashram system, beyond the four Varnas and beyond the four ashrams. That is Krishna Bhakti, pure Bhakti. So he did not distinguish between hippies, between blacks, between Asians, between Europeans. He gave this Krishna Bhakti to everyone. He used to always say, try to understand, my dear boys and girls. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Please try to follow the four regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, and stay high forever by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Like that, Prabhupada groomed everybody with love. Why do you think the hippies in the 1960s, they left their homes? Some of them were of very wealthy parents. They are, and they still they slept in the parks under trees. They didn't take a bath for days because they didn't have any facility. They had only one or two pairs of clothes, whatever could fit in their backpack. They had their guitar and their bongos, and then they lived a life, a free life, without any restriction, based on their understanding. Free life of free sex, free drugs, and all those things that would break the social norms. They wanted to be free. They wanted their nirvana. They wanted their liberation they were trying to find. Prabhupada came to at that time to America. And then all of them, after Srila Prabhupada met them and their association, everybody loved Srila Prabhupada. All the Westerners, the blacks, the whites, the Polish, the Jews, whatever, the Catholics, everybody loved him because they could feel that this is a genuine person worried about our spiritual well-being that we are really seeking after. That is what they saw. And why was that? Because of Pandita Samadarshina. That answer that he gave Dr. Patel was aghast. And then he agreed, yes, Swamiji, that is so true that you are spreading the entire world, you're making them Krishna conscious through this Krishna consciousness, that Hari Nam that you're giving without any restriction. Like otherwise, the Orthodox Brahmins will always, only initiate their Brahmins. They will only give these sanskaras to their own sons and their relatives. They will only give them the deity worship if they are of a certain temple that have received the deities in parampara. They will only let their own children and their own vansha, their own generations worship the deities. No matter who you are from outside, you're not allowed to do that. So those restrictions are there, and there is a moment of sense gratification there, and there is also, in that, there is a a bodily concept. It is not on the ultimate consciousness of the soul. Please, this is very important because we're talking about humility. I might as well, whatever is coming within my heart, I might as well share it with all of you. So Prabhupada, that requires a compassion, requires real humility. One cannot have true compassion if that humility is not there. We see somebody, a beggar, standing at the sidewalk or at the signal, and somebody, rolls down the window and passes on $100 bill, or a $20 bill. They feel very proud about it internally. That compassion is there, but it is over. What do you say? It has been covered by their status in life, because I am a multimillionaire or I have so much money, I'm giving in donation. That is why in today's world also, if we see, when somebody makes a donation, and nowadays the whole world has become like that. The temples are becoming like that. The churches are becoming like that. Those who give big donations, they have a plaque in their name, and they are very happy to have that plaque. Those who give donations, they have a wing named under them in the hospital, or the whole hospital is named after them or after that family. So all these things are motivated by material motivation of pratishtha, of self-aggrandizement. It has nothing to do with bhakti. It is actually nothing to do even with piety in one sense. Or if it is piety, it is on a very, very low grade piety. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, our grandfather used to say that supposing if you want to give somebody something, your right hand, if it gives something, the left hand should also not even know. So this is a saying. It is kind of a proverb. It's a proverb. That means, it has to be so, it has to be kept a secret. We do not need to advertise the good things that we do. But of course, the good Lord, who has got witnesses, he is a witness himself in the heart of everyone, who knows who does good and bad and who does pure bhakti. So these are the different things. So Srila Prabhupada was just simply the compassion and the love that radiated from him is what these hippies were able to give up. Today I got a WhatsApp. I forget the name of one of the prominent. It is not coming to my mouth. One of the prominent saints in Vrindavan, and he was appreciating Srila Prabhupada. He was saying that. All these uh, Paschatya Desh means the Westerners, like we use that word Paschatya Deshatharin in Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, the last line. All these, all these persons, Swami Prabhupada is amazing. They don't even drink tea and coffee. They don't even drink tea and coffee. What an amazing transformation. And to us, the Indians, when we ask them to give up, onion garlic, they cannot do that. To give up the tea and coffee, they cannot do that. So he was appreciating Srila Prabhupada. So somebody who was addicted to the heavy drugs like heroin, cocaine, LSD, all those heavy duty drugs, they dropped all that just on the association of Swamiji, but on the association of Srila Prabhupada. Because Srila Prabhupada came with such a beautiful, with such humility and compassion. And we can find that he wrote this poem, in his diary, which the devotees found after Srila Prabhupada left on 14 November 1977. You know, Prabhupada kept that a secret. He never advertised it. And what was that? It is called the Jaldut diary. And in that diary, Prabhupada wrote two poems. One of them is known as Markine Bhagwat. And in that, Srila Prabhupada says that, my dear Lord Krishna, he's saying, Srila Prabhupada is saying that you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me, whatever like with me. So, uh, but I know, he says, by your causeless mercy, uh, you can make everything happen because you are the most expert mystic. So Srila Prabhupada is kind of, uh, reflecting on the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Yatra yatra yogeshwar. Yogeshwar means the mystic, the master of the mystics. So wherever the master of the mystics is there, victory is guaranteed. So like this, Prabhupada's victory was also guaranteed because of his full firm faith in the holy name. And the holy name is non-different from the master of the mystics, Sri Krishna. That's what we have been learning. It's a live mantra. So Prabhupada mentions that how will they understand, these foreigners, these people, in the United States, uh, how will they understand this message of bhakti or devotional service? Oh Lord, oh Krishna, I'm simply praying to you for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. I wish, look at this now. Humility and compassion, they both go together. Real compassion goes along with humility. He says, I wish that you may deliver them. The Prabhupada has not even set foot on United States yet. He's still in the coastal waters. And there he's writing in his Bengali, this poem. He says, I wish that you may deliver them. Why? Because it if it is your desire that their deliverance will happen, and then only they will be able to understand your message. So Srila Prabhupada came with what? He came with the message of Gauravani. He had Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. Uh, he had a he had hardly three pairs of clothes, one umbrella, and the rest of it, he had two trunks full of Bhagavatam that he had printed in India. And his thing was to give Gauravani. The Gauravani means the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was his message. So I'm going to be speaking about these subjects, but I don't know how they will understand it. And then he goes on to say, the words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. Sri Krishna, Bhagavatam is Sri Krishna Parivartate. Yes, we had explained that, if you all remember, in the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, we did the first two verses, and I think we did it for about a good 12 weeks, including the introduction. And the introduction, I think, was about 4 weeks. The first verse was 6 weeks, and I think 3 or 4 weeks were on the second verse. So in that, we had mentioned this part, that there was a nice verse. Now it doesn't come to my mind, but Krishna is the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is Sri Krishna transformed. It is Krishna avatar himself. Just like the holy name is a live mantra, Srimad Bhagavatam is also a live mantra in the terms of Krishna and Krishna's associates pastimes. So Prabhupada is saying the words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive oral reception. Submissive, the word is submissive. So again, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroi Vasashuna. Right now, we are not interested in Bhagavatam. Right now, we do not understand the deeper meanings of Bhagavatam because we do not have that submissiveness towards Bhagavatam. We have to be submissive to Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavatam, also, the instructions are very clear in the second verse, where it says that Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parai Ishvara Sadhya Avarudyate Atra Krutubhi Sushrubhi Tatshana. Krutubi and Susrubi are the qualifications. One should be non envious, and also one should be very, very much desirous within the hearts to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the qualification of the real hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. He goes on to say in his humility, this is Trinadapi Sunichena. How will I make them understand the message of Krishna consciousness? Oh Krishna, I am very unfortunate, unqualified. I have no qualification, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them. I can convince these American boys and girls, for I am powerless to do so on my own. This is Trinadapi Sunichena, that I am fallen, most fallen, Prabhupada writes. And I'm unfortunate that I'm unqualified. Some or the other, my dear Lord, you have brought me here now to speak about you. I'm not here to speak about something else. I'm here to speak about you, oh my dear Lord. So, oh dear Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. See, he doesn't talk about his scholarship. He doesn't talk about his Sanskrit. He doesn't talk about any of that in his prayer. In his humility, is saying that now, my dear Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or a failure. And then he goes on to say, spiritual master of all the worlds, Jagat Guru. So here the word Jagat Guru has two meanings. Krishna is also known as Jagat Guru because he is the original preceptor. Om Janmadiyasya Yatonvayaditartascha Artheshva Bhigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kave. This is the first verse, few lines of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kave. So he is the one, the first spiritual master who gave the spiritual knowledge to Lord Brahma in his heart. Tene Brahma. Brahma means spiritual knowledge. Tene means Sri Krishna. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave. Hridaya means a heart. Adi Kavi means Lord Brahma, the first poet and the first created being. So, like that, Krishna is a Jagat Guru, and at the same time, Jagat Guru also he is talking about his own Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. This wonderful personality on my left hand, where my hand is right now, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he is also known as Jagat Guru, the preceptor for the entire world. Such a wonderful personality, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's saying, oh spiritual master of the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So what it means is, Krishna, whatever you had instructed to Lord Brahma, to Naradji, to Vyasdev, to Madhvacharya, and it came down in disciplic succession to Mahaprabhu, to the six Goswamis, it came down to Baldev Vidyabhushan Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur. It came down to six Goswamis. It came down to Srila Gaur Kishore, to Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, and then it came down to Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. In disciplic succession, it came down to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, then to Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he's saying that I can simply repeat your message. That is why Srila Prabhupada, everything that he took, that amazing and meticulous care is as it is, whatever the message is, without manipulating, without saying that in our opinion or we think like that. As it is, whatever it came down directly from Sri Krishna to Lord Brahma, all the way to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that is what our pride is. And we also pray to all the Vaishnavas that never ever we deviate whenever we are speaking Katha. We speak it as it is. We seek the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. That is the only thing that I have that I can say. Otherwise, many people say that, oh, it was a nice Katha, but the credit goes to my Srila Prabhupada. The credit goes to all those Vaishnavas who are speaking this and sharing Krishna consciousness as it is. So he says, only by your causeless mercy my words will become pure. Ahaituki kripa. He uses the word ahaituki, your causeless mercy. Uh, I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, Prabhupada is saying, they will certainly feel and gladden and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. So Srila Prabhupada is always thinking, even before stepping, down from the Jaldu ship, for the well-being. And that is the quality of a true Vaishnava. That is Taro Iva Sahishnunam in one sense, always thinking of the well-being, like a tree is thinking about the well-being. Oh Lord, he says further in that poem, I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance. Ami kastera putli. Amake nachave, nachave, nachave. Something. Make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. That is surrender, that is humility. That is Trinadapi Sunichena. And further, look at the humility of Srila Prabhupada. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have a strong faith in the holy name. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta. And now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Srila Prabhupada was given this title as Swami Maharaj. That is Prabhupada's sannyas name. And sannyas name and his godbrothers, because of his erudite bhakti scholarship, he was given the title Bhakti Vedanta. It is a prefix, Bhakti Vedanta. Just like, in mundane terms, there is this prefixes, Lord such and such, Lord Mountbatten. The name is Mountbatten, but they call him Lord Mountbatten, like the English system, because whatever they have been conferred upon by the Queen of England, those specific titles, they've been so like that. Srila Prabhupada in the devotional world was given the title of Bhakti Vedantist. Not just a Vedantist, but Bhakti Vedantist. One who knows the full conclusion based on the pure devotional uh, conclusions of the Vedas, Bhakti Vedantist. And now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. And now it is the time, my dear Krishna, only you can fulfill, otherwise they have given me a big name. And then he says, although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission when I was very young, Prabhupada was probably in his between his 20s and 30s at that time, at Radhakund in Vrindavan. He says that whenever you get money, print books and preach this message of Krishna consciousness. In his very first meeting in 1922, I think, that's when Srila Prabhupada met in his very young days, even before he was married. You are a very good, you seem to be a very educated person. Please preach this message of Krishna consciousness to the English speaking world. And Srila Prabhupada was reminiscing in 1965, you know, from 1922 to 1965, that's how many years? 34 years? No, 44 years. So that way he's saying, although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I'm not worthy of it to do it. Uh, it's been such a long time he ordered me, but see, I'm not worthy of it. But somehow or the other, now I'm here. I'm very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, I'm begging your mercy so that I may become worthy. Ah, that is Trinadapi Sunichena. Taro iva sahishnunam. Amanena manedena kirtanya sadahari. For you are the wisest and most experienced of all. So Srila Prabhupada writes this poem, and then later on, after he left, they found this, and then they obviously published it. That is his humility. And there are some other examples in Srila Prabhupada's life. He says, these are some of the amazing, and I really, want to share this with each one of you so that you all can take home Srila Prabhupada's humility, and maybe that will be a good example in our hearts so that someday, in some lifetime, we can achieve that kind of humility. Why is that humility required? Because that humility is required for that highest success. Even in this material world, if that humility is not there, we cannot survive in office environment or in the material environment. If somebody who is who is always arrogant and working in an office, he'll get fired. Or somebody who has a business and is very arrogant and rude to the customers, customers won't come back to that shop or to that establishment. So that humility has some, but humility in this material world is for sense gratification. I will be humble so that I will be able to be in the good books of my boss and the good books of my customer, and thereby I will get a promotion, or thereby I will make more money. It is contrived humility. That humility is not, and diametrically opposite. That same thing can be applied in spiritual life. And the highest success of this humble person is that he is able to make Bhakta Vatsala Krishna into Bhakta Vashya. Bhakta Vashya, we have used this term many times. Vashya means one, controlled. And Bhakta Vashya means with Krishna is controlled by his devotee. And by that devotion, Krishna is attracted by the deepest humility in that devotee. Krishna, when he sees that, he sees so tolerant. Even sometimes Krishna has put the highest test to the gopis in Vrindavan. But the gopis are so tolerant. They tolerate. That is the reason why Krishna becomes subservient to such Vaishnavas, to such devotees, that he is even willing to perform menial tasks for them. He is willing to apologize to them. He is always willing at their beck and command, always willing to dance on the tunes of those pure devotees. That is the real success, and that can be attained first and the most important, which is humility. Srila Prabhupada says that it is all Krishna's grace that he has sent such nice assistants to me. Now he's talking to the American boys and girls, those hippies that came, that approached him, that he said that that you are such nice assistants for executing the mission of my spiritual master. See, that I'm not executing this, I'm useless, but you are assisting me in executing the mission of my spiritual master. Prabhupada says, I'm a non entity, I'm nothing. I've come here on the order of my spiritual master, and he has kindly sent you all boys to assist me. So, whatever is being done, there is no credit for me, but all the credit goes to my spiritual master, because he has arranged everything, and I'm simply to abide by his order. I'm just trying to disseminate the message of my spiritual master. And if there is any credit for this service, everything goes to my spiritual master. Practically, there is no credit for me. If there is any credit, it goes to my spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, who is helping me by sending so many good souls like you in this movement. This is humility. Nowadays, how many people feel like that? That is why we have only one Acharya in our movement. It is His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The rest of them are Vaishnavas. According to their capability, they are preaching and they are serving. But no, we have never heard a single guru or a single Vaishnava speak like this and feel like this, that, telling their own disciples that, oh, you are assisting me in Srila Prabhupada's movement. How many have gurus have? I've never heard anybody say that, because that realization is not there, because everybody is struggling with their senses. And therefore, the Trinadapi Suni Chena Taroivasa Hishnunam is a very difficult thing to achieve. Just because we have been given the, what do you call, the manpan or the status in the society, sometimes we get garlanded by devotees, sometimes devotees appreciate, our services. But in reality, are we Trinadapi Suni Chena Taroivasa Hishnunam? Are we really qualified? When Srila Prabhupada himself that he feels that he is not qualified, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says he feels he is not qualified. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says he is not qualified. Krishnaraj Kaviraj Goswami says he is not qualified. Rup Sanatan Goswamis, they say they are not qualified. Then think about this, my dear devotees. Where do we really stand? We have to change the bar for our own good. And our own good means pleasing Krishna and Krishna's associates. So this is amazing. When I read these, I was so much, like, it's just like a yardstick to see where I stand. And it is good to be introspective. for our own well-being. You know, my Guru Maharaj, you are helping me by sending, my Guru Maharaj is sending all these good souls like you in this movement. Whatever is being done is due to his divine grace only. So my business is just to carry out his order. That is the way of disciplic succession. And you all have come to help me. If you also follow the same principles, then our combined effort, the words he is using, our combined effort, he doesn't say my effort, our combined effort to serve Lord Krishna will be very successful. uh, like that, he goes on to say that it was the prediction of Mahaprabhu that in every town and village my name will be spread. So there is no credit for me, but it is only a tiny, teeny little attempt. Prabhupada used to use the word teeny. He never used the word tiny. Teeny. He said it is a teeny attempt and a humble attempt. So if one could do, if you have some success, why not all of us? So like this, Prabhupada is also encouraging at the same time. He is being so humble. And then this is amazing. I really, like, I don't know what to say. Even I cannot even comment on this. He's saying, Prabhupada, actually, I'm dependent on your mercy. He's telling all these young boys and girls, actually, I'm dependent on your mercy. If you kindly follow my instructions and continue to push on Krishna consciousness, that will make me very happy. Actually, whatever is happening is due to, again, his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, meaning his Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Because personally, I'm completely incapable. Therefore, I have come back, and the Prabhupada, when he goes to India, comes back to the West. One time he mentioned that when I left your country, I had very little hope to come back again because Prabhupada is old. And sometimes Prabhupada would feel that his body is giving up. But Krishna informed me, Prabhupada says, that I am not going to die immediately. So here we get a little glimpse that Prabhupada actually has conversations with Krishna. Uh, we have to sometimes read the lines very carefully to see how Prabhupada is an intimate associate of Sri Krishna. Therefore, I have come back again to get inspiration of Krishna consciousness from who? From all good souls like you. Although officially I am your spiritual master, although officially I am your spiritual master, I consider you all students of my spiritual master. So basically, you're not my disciples, you're not my students, but you're the students of my spiritual master. Because your love for Krishna and service for Krishna teach me how to become sincere in Krishna consciousness. This is Prabhupada's Trinadapi Sunichena. One time, Srila Prabhupada was in Sydney and the new temple had already opened, and Prabhupada had to move on, go to the next country. And then he prayed to the deities. I forget the name of the deities in Sydney. Uh, but he said that, oh, my dear Radha Krishna, I can't do anything good to you. But somehow or the other have brought these souls to you. So now, dear sir, so he's addressing Krishna, dear sir, you make them Krishna conscious. See, otherwise, how can I do anything? It is beyond my power. Be blessed by Krishna. Your sentiments are all very nice. Krishna will help you. The Prabhupada, in his heart, his compassion, his humility, every second he's thinking of how the people in this world can take to Krishna consciousness. And then he says, and because you're already acquainted with Krishna, I have no objection to accepting you as my disciple. This is Prabhupada. Practically, I do not have any disciples. I select so many masters. Please hear these words carefully. I select so many masters to train them in the service of the Lord. So in ISKCON or in the Gaudiya Math or in the proper Vaishnava Sampradaya, we always call or address another person as Prabhu, especially if he's a male. And a lady, besides your own wife, we call them Mataji. We give them the very high, because you're supposed to serve your mother, Mataji. And Prabhu means master. And master means one is a das, the one who is saying Prabhu. One is a servant. So Prabhupada is saying here, we have to reflect on these words again and again. He says, practically, I do not have any disciples, but I select so many Prabhus. So these Prabhus means all these young boys, all these masters, to train them in the service of the Lord. So amazing. This is Trinadapi Sunichana Taro Iva Saishnunam Amanena Manadena Kirtanya Sadari. Your natural attraction for Krishna makes it show that in your previous birth, you have cultured the science of Krishna consciousness. And then Prabhupada goes on to say, from my personal point of view, I think that I'm so sinful that I cannot even approach Krishna to show me any favor. But I have only one hope, my spiritual master. Adore, adore ye all the happy day. Prabhupada writes a poem on Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada's appearance day in English. And we had sang that, and we even went to the different meanings, where he says, adore, adore ye all the happy day, sweeter than heaven, brighter than May, when he appeared in Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. So he's so beautifully glorifying his spiritual master. So the same thing, you know, he never missed a single opportunity where he gave credit to his spiritual master and none for himself. That is amane na mane dena. And that is why Srila Prabhupada could do Kirtanya Sadahari. That is why he was able to constantly chant the name of Krishna, whether he was speaking to the disciples on how to apply tilak, or how to wear the dhoti, or how to perform Sri Vigraha Aradhana Nityanana Sringara Tan Mandiram Arjanado Yuktascha Bhaktamscha Ninjatopi Vande Guru Sri Charnarvindam. How he engaged the devotees in the service of Krishna, in the service of decorating the deities, in the service of the deities, everything Srila Prabhupada taught, but constantly the holy names were there. One time, Srila Prabhupada in Juhu, in the evening, he used to give darshan to people from all walks of life. His disciples were there, outsiders who were visiting the temple, business people, so many different people, all walks of life. They would assemble on the fifth floor in the Juhu guest house, the old guest house. Even today, it is the museum, Prabhupada's quarters. So if you do go to Bombay and if you go to ISKCON, please pay your obeisances not only to the deities, but pay your obeisances to Srila Prabhupada's quarters in Bombay, where Prabhupada translated many books, and he also met so many persons from all walks of life. So one evening, one businessman was sitting there, and in the meantime, just before the darshan, or perhaps it was after the darshan, but the essence is that some of his disciples walked in, offered pranams, dandvat pranams to Srila Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada started discussing about some money matters, like so much money should go here, so much money should be allocated here, and this construction should be done in such and such a way. Why the cement is not arrived? What happened to the contractor? So all these things, this businessman was listening. And then Prabhupada observed that this businessman, he didn't say anything, had some doubts about Srila Prabhupada's uh, ability as a spiritual master or as a leader, a spiritual leader. So after everybody left, he said, you stay behind. And then some of his disciples were also there. And then Srila Prabhupada lifted his shirt, the kurta, and says, put your ear to my back. And he did that. How lucky of him, anyways, to touch Srila Prabhupada's divine body, his ear. And when that person, after that, he was shocked. He constantly heard the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in Srila Prabhupada's breathing, in Srila Prabhupada's every breath, and he offered his obeisances. That is Kirtanya Sadahari. A Vaishnava can do so many other activities that to the common person may look like it is mundane. Like Pundrik Vidyanidhi. Pundrik Vidyanidhi was one of the wonderful Vaishnavas during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And actually, it is said that he is in Krishna Leela, in the eternal pastimes of Krishna. He is actually King Vrishabhanu, the father of Radharani. So one time Gadadhar Pandit went to visit Pundrik Vidyanidhi. Pundrik Vidyanidhi ji was a very opulent person. He would dress up in wonderful silk clothing, and he would have his servants fan him, and all that luxury on a nice seat. He was seated. So Gadadhar Pandit, similar to what this person may have been feeling about Prabhupada, that I have heard about with Pundarik Vidyanidhi as an exalted Vaishnava, but what I'm seeing with my own eyes right now, he seems to be very materialistic. And at that time, one of his servants entered with a peacock feather fan in his hand. And he started fanning him. And the moment he saw the peacock feather, Pundrik Vidyanidhi rolled from his couch and he was in ecstasy, in tears. And he was speaking all these wonderful verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam and all these esoteric Madhurya Rasa verses that just was absorbed and inundated with Krishna Prema. At that time, Gadadhar Pandit indeed understood his mistake, and then he offered his obeisances, and then later on he took initiation from Pundrik Vidyanidhi. And Gadadhar Pandit is none other than actually an expansion, or she is Radharani, but in the mood of Satyabhama. That is what our acharyas say. uh, but sometimes for the Leela purposes, Yog Maya creates a certain illusion, so that the certain recognition doesn't happen. Just like Arjun could not recognize that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And that's why, after showing him the universal form in the Bhagavad Gita, then he says, "Oh Krishna, I took you to be a common, to such as a common friend. I took you to be my bua's son, my auntie's son. But you are Parama Brahma, Parama Paman. You are the ultimate destination. You are the supreme personality of Godhead. Please forgive me." So like this, my point being that uh, that humility if it's not there, then we cannot attract the attention of Krishna. And then obviously it was shown that humility was displayed by Prabhupada, although he was managing so many affairs, because these young boys and girls from the United States, they were getting cheated left and right by those Indian businessmen, by those contractors, and Prabhupada had to constantly guide them. So all these administrative work that Prabhupada did, a lot of nowadays people misunderstand. Even the sannyasis, they take into administration, which is not really necessary. If we really examine now, ISKCON movement has grown leaps and bounds all over the world, and there are so many qualified persons, grihasthas, with so much ability. There's engineers, doctors, accountants, and they can be excellent administrators because they're already running a successful business. And along with the component of spiritual life, they are perfect. They will never misuse the temple's funds, or they will not do anything that will be, or at least they're not supposed to, that will be contrary to the pleasure of Krishna. So sannyasis, their ashram is just meant purely for preaching, and they should leave all this administrative work to the rest of the able Vaishnavas or the devotees. Because otherwise they get caught up. And Prabhupada was a different personality. If one can simultaneously do Kirtanya Sadahari like Srila Prabhupada, when you put the ear to Prabhupada's back and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is constantly going on, then go ahead, by all means, become an administrator like Lord Brahma if you have to. But otherwise, our movement is, by Prabhupada's mercy, it is self-sufficient, and all it's my personal appeal, with humility, to all the gurus and the personalities, who have taken either brahmacharya ashram or sannyas ashram, not to be involved in administration. uh, it was a different world when Srila Prabhupada came to the West. It was a different time when the Westerners were brought to India and they were easily being cheated. So Srila Prabhupada had to be there every moment, guiding them. But it is not the case today. It is not the case today. So the sannyasis, we will be so blessed in ISKCON if all the sannyasis simply spend their time in just preaching Srila Prabhupada's instructions as it is through his books. ISKCON will grow even further leaps and bounds. It will perhaps reach the perimeter of the Brahma Loka. That's how powerful Prabhupada's books and instructions are. So, anyways, everything happens for a reason. Perhaps there is a reason why they're doing what they're doing. But maybe my tiny little brains doesn't understand that why sannyasis have to involve themselves into heavy administrative work. Totally not necessary. And anyways, the Srila Prabhupada again further says in his humility, otherwise, if we study our own qualifications, there is none. So he's talking about himself. I do not have any good qualification. Rather, I've got so many disqualifications. So, like this, Srila Prabhupada has just, uh, with his humility, he says, I am in receipt of your note and gift. So, somebody, one of the disciples had written, and he had even sent a gift as a ring. Just now I am wearing it. I'm wearing this ring you gave me because you have sincerely offered. I must accept on behalf of my Guru Maharaj, although I am not worthy. So Srila Prabhupada accepted some gifts like a watch or a ring, etc. But what was his consciousness? See, here's the answer to many of us who receive gifts, especially sannyasis, you know. But is the consciousness like this, that I'm accepting this on behalf of my Guru Maharaj, although I'm not worthy? So this is just to keep the heart of the person giving the donation, to keep the heart on a personal gift. Generally, sannyasis will not accept anything. They should not be accepting. But Srila Prabhupada had a certain purpose to encourage devotees in Krishna consciousness. It was not for his own sense gratification. Think about it. If it was for his own sense gratification, when Srila Prabhupada left his body, in the same book, in his same bag, or in the trunk where they found the Jaldut diary, they also found a note stating that I have a few rupees left in my post box, in the post office account. You can give it to my family, but my family, if they claim anything about ISKCON or any assets of ISKCON, they are not entitled to it. Neither my sons or anybody from my family. So if Prabhupada was a person of sense gratification, then he would keep things for himself. He did not have a bank account for himself. He had a small post office account in the Grihastha days where there was some rupees that was just accumulating interest. And Prabhupada wanted to just give it to his sons that were in Kolkata. That it is that is your rightful claim. I had earned this before actually ISKCON happened, but ISKCON is not, it is Prabhupada's, but Prabhupada always felt that it is my Guru Maharaj's property. It is Krishna's property. So if all of us take that responsibility and have that consciousness, then it would be such a further, divine movement within a divine movement. The divinity would increase more and more, like Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam. And always an ocean of bliss keeps on increasing. So these are the things we need to learn in them, because the humility, when that humility is there, then the person can think and act and say like that. Otherwise, what is today? You walk into a temple, a brahmachari will laugh at you. Ha, Prabhuji, ek laptop dila dijiye na. This has happened to me. I'm like, I don't have a laptop which I'm not using for the last 10 years. I'm using the same laptop, and this guy wants the latest laptop. I mean, so it is not their fault. It is the fault of the leadership. Because all these leaders, they fly first class. They a lot of them, they wear all these starched iron clothes. Prabhupada said, yes, Vaishnava is gentlemanly and should look first class. But then we have to draw the line. What first class means? If first class means be first class in quality, simple living, high thinking, not by traveling in first class. So these are the things that I totally disagree, and I know this is being recorded, and this is the truth. I'm speaking it as it is, based on Srila Prabhupada's writings and based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So I have no fear there. I'm blessed by Srila Prabhupada, that honestly speaking, that I have no fear when I'm speaking Prabhupada's as it is. And perhaps this is the only little credit, if somebody wants to give me, then it is by his mercy I'm able to speak this as it is without fear. Prabhupada also further says that, one devotee says that, and one question was asked that, Prabhupada, Swamiji, you must be higher than the Paramahansa stage. Oh Prabhupada, you must be, Srila Prabhupada, you must be higher than the Paramahansa stage. So, what is a Paramahansa stage? Paramahansa means a stage where one is beyond these four varnas and ashrams. It is like a Babaji. A Hansa means a swan. So, all the saintly personalities are like swans. And Paramhansa means amongst the swans, there is one swan that excels. This is an analogy for Paramhansa. So, Prabhupada ji, you must be in the Paramahansa stage. And Prabhupada replies, I am lower than you. See, he's saying that to his own disciple, I'm lower than you. And he repeats it twice. I'm lower than you. I'm lower than you. So, like this, uh, he even thanks his own disciples. Thank you very much for accepting me as your spiritual master. And I promise you that I will take you back home, back to Godhead. This is the humility. Trinadapi sunichena taro eva saishnanam amanena manadena kirtanya sadahari. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a couple things that come to my mind. I'm sure there is much more nectar, and to be learned from the humility. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I think I was saying that point, and I think I kind of took a little tangent in in uh, in 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 the Gaudiya Math. When somebody came, we are talking about services, right? When somebody is asked to mop the floor or clean, I have some other service. I have to do this. I have to go home. Anyways, the point is, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, when he saw that some new brahmacharis had joined, or somebody who was very scholarly in nature, at that time when they would sit in the class, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would recognize, sometimes that pride needs to be broken as a guru. That is the responsibility of the guru. So he would say, you get up, you get up, you get up, and go help the cook in the kitchen, clean the pots and cut the vegetables. And sometimes they felt very bad. Oh, I am a scholar, I know this, I know that. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said, go cut the vegetables, go clean the dirty dishes in the kitchen, the dirty pots and pans. That's how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was. But anybody who bowed down to him, including his own disciple, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in Sanskrit would utter very softly, Daso Asmi. Daso Asmi. Daso means I am the servant. Asmi. Asmi means I am. So I am your servant. This is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, an associate, a prana sakhi of Radharani, a very, very dear sakhi of Rupa Manjari. This is what he says to anybody who bowed down. And what is happening these days? We find that somebody is offering obeisances or certain people, they simply walk over them, not even looking at their existence. But we find the examples of a few very good sannyasis, movement. The moment you bow down, they at least with folded hands, they bow down, they close their eyes, and they pass on the obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. And they bow down back within their hearts, to the devotees who are bowing down to them. So when can we learn that? We all want Krishna, we all want Golok Vrindavan, we all want to be in that Maharas, we all want to be in the Nikunja Seva. But where's the question of qualification? Are we qualified? They do not have contrived humility. We have contrived humility or false humility. We use the word Prabhu, but we use it in a very, very derogatory way sometimes. And we use the names of devotees and saying that he's a rascal and he's this and that. Where is that humility? Then how can we expect to get the grace, that kripa? Why should Krishna be controlled by us? Why should Krishna listen to us? So much food for thought. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada quotes, he used to say, if I could perfectly deliver even one soul back home, back to Godhead, I would think my mission of propagating Krishna consciousness is successful. And Prabhupada adds that the Krishna conscious movement is now spreading all over the world. And sometimes I think that even though I'm crippled in many ways, if one of my disciples becomes as strong as Dhruv Maharaj, he will be able to carry me back with him to Vaikuntha Loka. This is Trinadapi Sunichena Taro Eva Saishnunam Mane na mane dena kirtanya sadahari. When will that day come, oh my dear Lord, that I will be able to get this? We all will be able to get this mood of humility. Srila Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj's humility was such. Oh, talking about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj left his body in Navadvip, many Babas came, pseudo Babas, false, and they wanted the body of Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj. Why? So that they can build a samadhi, and if his samadhi is there of a great Mahanta, many people will visit the mott. They will visit their temple, and thereby they will get Lakshmi, they will get money. If you have a very famous personality samadhi in a temple, obviously it's going to attract a lot of visitors. And whenever visitors come, we see that they will always give some donation. So when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur arrived there, there was a lot of chaos between the Babajis of the different mutts. Oh, Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, we will have him, his samadhi in our mandir. And somebody said, no, 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 no. We were close to him, and we will have samadhi in his mandir, in our mandir. And like that, they were fighting, and the police had to arrive. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said that nobody touched my Guru Maharaj's body. If anybody touches my Guru Maharaj's body in the last 1 year, if anybody has not had any illicit thoughts or affairs, come forward. Anybody in the last 1 month, anybody in the last 1 week, anybody in the last 3 days. Otherwise, if you touch my Guru Maharaj's body, you will be burnt to ashes. All of them backed out. And then some of them said, oh, it was the desire of Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj to drag his body after he leaves in Navadvip. And then this is what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said. My Guru Maharaj was so humble, and Krishna will personally come and lift his body. He just said that out of humility, that drag my body in the dust of Navadvip. But don't you all know, my Guru Maharaj is so exalted that even Krishna himself will pick up, just like Mahaprabhu picked up the body of Haridas Thakur in Puri, and he danced when the news came that Haridas Thakur, who was actually born of a Muslim, by birth, but he was exalted. He was given the title of Namacharya Haridas Thakur. And when Mahaprabhu heard that, he personally went. Mahaprabhu wept due to not finding his association anymore. Picked him up in his own hands, and he did Sankirtan. Mahaprabhu personally danced with the body of Haridas Thakur. So this is Trinadapi Sunichena. This is what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji, he was reluctant to initiate Srila Bimla Prasad. Bimla Prasad is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur later on. Bimla Prasad, the son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur had told his son that please get initiated, although he was capable of initiating himself. But he took a very humble stance. Trinadapi Sunichena Taro, he was saying, no, go to Gaur Kishore Das Baba. He will initiate you. When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur went there with folded hands, he went down at his lotus feet. Baba, please initiate me. Give me Harinam. So Baba said, no, Baba, no. I'm not qualified. You are the son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I'm not qualified to give anybody any initiation. And like that, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to him again and again, crying. And Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj would immediately tell, oh, I'm so sorry, Bimal, I will ask Mahaprabhu and let you know tomorrow. Like that, he made many excuses. Eventually, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you do not accept me, I will drown myself in the Ganga. I feel so worthless. He says, how can I accept you? You are such a great scholar. You are the son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I know who you are. One knows the other. Because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Kamla Manjari in Nitya Leela. And Gaur Kishore Babaji is an expansion of Guna Manjari. So one knows another. So I'm actually subservient to you. I cannot give you initiation. There was a similar incident in the life of Loknath Goswami and Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur was the only disciple. Mahaprabhu had to come in the dreams of Loknath Goswami. Please initiate him for my pleasure. So then he initiated because he was so humble. Even Ishwar Puripad, he knew who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. When he went to Gaya to do the Pindan ceremony of his father, Jagannath Mishra, and there he met Ishwar Puripad at the lotus feet of Vishnu. So there he was attracted, and tears rolled, and he saw the humble demeanor of this sadhu. Mahaprabhu was attracted. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna gets attracted to a very humble devotee, Ishwar Puripad. Ishwar Puripad was so humble that he had served his Guru Maharaj, Madhavendra Puripad. Madhavendra Puripad had many disciples, but in his old age, Madhavendra Puripad, such an exalted Vaishnava, his urine, his stool, he was become a little incapacitated, and all that was cleaned by Ishwar Puripad. Therefore, he got the blessings of Madhavendra Puripad that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his consort, in that mood will take initiation from you. So this is the humility. Ishwar Puripad was cleansing the area where even Madhavendra Puripad used to pass stool and also clean. All these, all very menial jobs he did. And that's what attracted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his lotus feet. And he said, please give me initiation. And he refused. But then again, Krishna came in his dream that please give him initiation, you know, and you will please me. That's why Ishwar Puripad gave initiation to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gave him the Harinam. This is the beauty. And then that initiation was taken by Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was crying day and night. He forgot all the explanations and the grammar of Sanskrit. He had a toll, a Gurukul in Navadvip. When he went back, he stopped teaching his students. He stopped teaching grammar. He stopped teaching Nyay, logic. And he was simply rolling in ecstasy with the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, the Mahamantra. And he had gone mad because you know why? He was given that Mahamantra by Ishwar Puripad, by a very humble devotee, by a very humble disciple. And that Krishna Prem that flowed from Madhavendra Puripad, it was flowing into the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prior to Madhavendra Puripad, there was no visible signs of Krishna Prema. No visible signs of Madhavendra Puripad is the one to whom Srinathji had appeared in Govardhan, near to Govind Kunda. And he is the one who brought the rasa, the amorous pastimes, and the rasa, the mellows of Krishna Prem. And Mahaprabhu is the one who became that golden volcano through his mercy and the mercy of Ishwar Puripad. Of course, that golden volcano, because so that shows that even Krishna and Radharani, they are willing to take initiation, they're willing to be subservient to humble devotees. So Trinadapi Sunichena Taro Iva Saishnanama Mane na Mane Dena Kirtanya Sadahari. In the life of Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, there are so many examples of his utter humility and poverty. He used to chant the holy names that was made from a string and made knots into beads, like bead style, and he chanted the Mahamantra on it. And he never asked anything, any material things. He never accepted anything from anyone. And for his clothing, you know what he used to use? He used to use the discarded covering of the corpse. When the corpse are taken to the smashan, to the crematorium, at that time there is a white cloth that is covered, that covers the body. And whatever was left here and there in the crematorium, Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj used to pick that up. Whatever he could salvage, he would turn it into a small loin cloth, just wrap it around his waist. That is, and he had the highest ecstasy of Vipralamba Bhav, Nama Gaur Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye. Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye. The embodiment of renunciation, Vipralamba Rasambudhe. And he was so fortunate to have that bhav or that mellow of Vipralamba bhav, a service in separation. Service in separation is considered very, very, very special in this Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, which is not privy to all other Vaishnava Paramparas. We have explained that in the past. Because there are many, many, many Vaishnavas who are associates, also eternal associates of Radha and Krishna, but the service is limited only in the union of Radha and Krishna, in Sambhoga. But in Vipralamba, only a few selected devotees in the line of Mahaprabhu are selected so that they can give a shoulder to Radharani. They can give a shoulder to Radharani when she needs it the most in separation. So Vipralamba Rasambode. Ras means the mellow of Vipralamba Rasa. And Ambudi means an ocean. Vipralamba Rasambode Padam Bhojayate Nama. I offer my obeisances unto Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. For his food, what did he do? That is humility. He would collect, Gaurkishore Babaji would collect the rice that was left even Raghunath Das Goswami did that in Jagannath Puri. Whatever the rice that was overheated in the summer and that had gone bad, the the pandas or the servitors of the temple used to throw it in one corner, and then whatever those remnants were, the animals like the cows and the dogs would eat it in the back of the temple. Raghunath Das Goswami used to go, and some of that rice, the cows would smell, the dogs would smell, and they would not take it. It was gone so bad. But Raghunath Das Goswami's humility, seeing that it is Krishna Jagannath's prasad, he would cleanse it with a lot of love in water, take a little salt, and have it. One time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that, and when he noticed that, the Raghunath Das Goswami immediately hid that fist that was the stale rice that he had picked up from the gutter, and he hid it behind him. And he says, Raghunath, what are you eating? What are you hiding from me? Bring it forth. And he said, no, 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 Mahaprabhu, this is not for you. This is not for you. Mahaprabhu, please don't. Please don't. But Mahaprabhu grabbed his wrist and he took a morsel of that same rice that was rejected by animals, and he took it and he says, this is the best prasadam I had. This is Trinadapi Sunichena Taroiva Saishnunam. Manena Manadena Kirtanya Sadahri. They are the ones who can do Sada Kirtan. That is why we are not able to do this Kirtan Sadahri. That is the reason, is because we do not have these four qualities that we need to develop. But we are hoping, even in this stage, whatever stage we are in, we will be able to develop that humility and simultaneously the taste for the holy name, so that we can be successful in our endeavor of becoming the inner circle for the service of Mahaprabhu. And Thakur Bhakti Vinod's humility. I'm going in the parampara, whatever I can remember. There are 7 songs in this Dainya section in Sharanagati. And the first song is Bhuliya Tumhare Samsare Ashiya. We have sung this before in the Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad group, wherein he says that I have forgotten you, O Krishna, and I've come to this material world in this samsar. Pe nana vida vyatha. I have gone through different types of miseries. Ek bar Prabhu dikha diya more. Vanchile ide you. When I was in my mother's womb, Janani Jatare, Chilam Jakhone, Vishama Bandhana Pashe, Ek bar dikha diya more. Vanchile de nadashe. I saw your darshan when I was in my mother's womb, and then you left this servant of yours. Takara bhavinu janama paiya. Afterwards, I was born, and then in that birth, I was so much kelinu. No, he said takara bhavinu janama paiya. Janani janaka janani snehete bhuliya sansara lagiro bhalo. With the love that was bestowed by my parents, Janaka Janani, and my relatives, I felt that I was in the 7th cloud, the best thing that has happened to me in the world. And the moment I cried, they took me in their arms, they gave me milk, they gave me this, and they started singing for me. Like this, I grew up. Bhelunu Bhalaka Saha. As I grew up, I started playing with the other kids. And then I became a student, part of Padi Ohar. I became a good student, and I became a very studious student. And I studied very, very nicely, and I became a very good student. And then later on, I entered the grihastha life. He says that eko mone kori swajana palana bhulinu tumare hari. And then I became a studious father, a good father, a good mother, a good son, a good brother, a good relative. And I provided everything, but bhulinu tumare hari, no time for you. It is the story of our life. We are inviting people. Prabhupada is inviting people. Come to this temple. Take to this Krishna conscious movement. But no, no, today I have to take my son to football. Today is birthday. Today is this day. Today is Valentine's Day. I have to take my wife to the restaurant. Today is that. Today is that. Bhulinu tumare hari. And then at the end, he says in humility, like he's saying, what is he saying? That Bardhya ekon bhakti vinoda kandiya katara ati. Dina britha gelo. Dina britha gelo. My days are wasted. Ekona ki hoi begati now. What is going to happen to me? What will be my destination? This is Bhakti Vinod Thakur. First song, second song, Vidyara Vilase Katinu Kala Parama Sahase Ami Tumara Charane Na Bhajinu Kabu Ekhone Sharana Tumi. So again, there is a lot of verses, but the essence is that due to my education, Vidyara Vilase, uh, Katyanukal, I became a graduate, postgraduate, doctorate, Katinukal. We are simply, this is our life. And we spend our time as students and studied and got maximum degrees. Vidyara Vilase, Vidyara Vilase, Parama Sahase Ami, Tovara Charana now Bhajinu Kavi. I forgot to worship you, O Krishna. Ekhona Sharana to me. Now I take shelter at your lotus feet in this old age. Like that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written these wonderful songs. And in today's song, especially, which is song number 4, he's saying, Amar Jivan Sada Pap Rata Nahika Punyera Lesha. My life, just see the humility. Amar Jivan, my life is always full of sins. Nahika Punyera Lesha, there is not even an iota of any piety. Parera Udvega Diyachi Je Koto. I've always given anxiety to others. Diyachi jivara klesha. And I've given so much misery to others. Nija sukha lagi pape nahi dori. For my own happiness, I did not refrain from committing sinful activities. Doya hina swartha poro. Completely without any doya, any mercy. Daya hina, violent, swartha paro. I'm always very selfish. Para sukhe dukhi. When I saw that somebody else was happy, I became unhappy. Envy. Sada mithyavasi. And always speaking lies. Mithyavasi. Para dukhe sukha karo. And if somebody was unhappy, I would become very happy. This is our life. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is feeling it. This is amazing. I've still never understood how they feel like this. This is like out of the world. This kind of humility, a great personality like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kamala Manjari, a personal associate of Radha Rani. This is just out of the world, I tell you, I mean, talking about humility. Ashesha Kamana, Hridi Maje More. There are unlimited material desires in my heart. Krodhi Damba Parayana. I'm always inflicted with anger, deceit. Mada Matta Sada Vishaya Mohita. Mada Matta Sada. I'm always intoxicated with Vishaya, with material things. Himsa Garva Vibhushana. And what are my ornaments? My ornaments are Himsa, violence, Himsa, Garva, false pride, Vibhushana. They are my ornaments. Nidra alasya hate, sukarya virata. Always lazy, spending a lot of time sleeping. Nidra hata, sukarya virata. No good work. I did not commit anything good. Akarya udyogi ami. And all the bad things, I'm a factory of them. Udyog means a factory. So if there is a factory, that's me for all bad things. A pratishta lagiya satya acharana. Pratishta, self-aggrandizement, always wanting praise for the self. Pratishta lagiya satya acharana, false very deceitful actions or deceitful behavior. Satya acharana. Lobha hata sadakami. Always materially greedy, and sadakami. Always, with deep material desires. Then he further on goes to say in verse number 5, Ehano durjana sajjana varjita. I am such a fallen person, durjan, a rascal, sajjana varjita, that has been given up by gentlemanly persons. Aparadi nirantara, endless offenses I am committing. Aparadi nirantara, subhakarya sunya, zero auspicious works you can expect from me. I do not have any good auspicious works, zero. Shubhakarya shunya, zero. Sada anarthamana, and always my mind is full of dirty misgivings, anarthas, and that things that do not make sense, things that do not help with self-realization. And nana dukkhe jara jara, and full, right now in this old age, I'm full of different kinds, afflicted with miseries. And then in the last verse that we sang today, in the beginning, Bardhyakya ekon upai vihina. Now in this old age, without any recourse, without any solution, tate dina kinchana, now I'm completely bereft of everything, completely akinchana, like a beggar. Bhakti Vinod Prabhura Charane. Bhakti Vinod Thakur at the lotus feet. Bhakti Vinod is praying at the lotus feet of Krishna. Prabhura Charane. Kora Dukha Kore Dukha Nivedana. Is simply telling his tale of woe. This is humility. How many of us feel even one quality, that all these qualities that he has mentioned? This is amazing. We have a very long way to go, my dear Prabhus and Matas. But it is encouraging. One thing is encouraging, at least we are hearing about these topics, we are trying to study them, and hopefully, but that deep desire will one day arise, and it will become a reality of this particular kind of uh, what you call uh, uh, Trinadapi Sunichana Taro Ivo Seshnanam, that consciousness of being humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant like a tree, giving respects to all, and um, not expecting any respect for the self. Um, I think I will stop here now. Next week, we will continue into this mood of humility by um, quoting Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and perhaps a few other things. Um, and then we will continue into the third verse. Uh, our prayers, sincere prayers. I seek the blessings of each one of you here. But when will that day come? Uh, Dear devotees, this is so important. Nobody tells these things. Only the true persons in the line of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, they will tell you this, so that we can raise our standards, our bar. So thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. All glories to Rai Ramanand Thakur. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So Anup Prabhu, please take over from here.
Hello.
You're muted, Prabhuji.
Hello.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. On behalf of Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Group, I thank you everybody for joining today's session. So we are on week 13 of discussion on Shri Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. And on this 13th week, we are observing the nectar of verse 3. As Prabhuji said, there are 4 types of persons who approach God: Arti, Artharti, Jnani, and Jigyasu. Though they are not the lowest standard, they are not the ultimate standard as well. So basically, what should be the consciousness of the Bhakta when they chant the Maha Mantra? So in verse 3, that is explained, Trinadapi api shunichena, tarur api sahisnuna, amanena manadena kirtanaya sadahari. So the consciousness should be, one person should be humbler than a blade of grass, tolerant than a tree, and devoid of all sense of false pride or prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to the bhaktas or others. In that state of mind, if we chant Hare Krishna or Maha Mantra, we can get the complete essence or the nectar of the mantra. Prabhuji nicely discussed the type of humilities with real life examples from the real life Gaudiya Vaishnavas like Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and etc. It was very nice to hearing again and again about these real Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas. So if you do piety, work in one hand, right hand, then left hand should not know. That is called humility. I have one more example to add. So when Lord Jagannath asked King Indradumna, after King Indradumna established the temple, what benediction do you need or ask? So King Indradumna replied, kindly just grant me this one benediction which I desire, to be without any descendants. So that means he don't need, he renounced all his children and all his bansas, so that no one in the future will be able to claim the temple or claim that they made this temple or they established the Jagannath. So that kind of humility we should think of when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Very nice example, Anuprabhu. I
You.
remember mentioning this during our Rath Yatra Katha, and you kind of rekindled this, that the humility of King Indrajumna. How amazing that, in the future, if my descendants, somebody starts claiming that this is mine, this temple, I better not have any descendants. That is my only desire. Haribol.
Yes, that's
Right.
exactly.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, Prabhuji, once again for nicely explaining all those things. It's our like we have with you. We have you with us. That's we are fortunate. Thank you very much again. And we have a couple of announcements. Sunday, May 30 is the disappearance day of Srila Ramanand Roy. June 6th, Sunday is Apara Ekadasi. Please fast from beans and grains. And Sunday, June 6th, also appearance of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Thank you very much once again for all the devotees to join today's session. Now we'll open our mic for any reflection and questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anup Prabhu, and thank you, Asim Prabhu. Always, and Pankit Prabhu, always very, very much, enthusiastic to serve. I am blessed that I have your association, and your assistance will please Srila Prabhupada. That is the goal of our Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad group. So, does anybody have any questions or any things that whatever you would like to express please feel free to. Where is our Hariyar Prabhu? I haven't seen him in. Here he is. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and Hare Krishna to everybody. Yes, beautifully explained by you the different modes of humility. The one thing I didn't know about about Ishwar Prabhupada, that he used to clean the urine stool of uh,
Srila Madhavendra Puri Pad.
Madhavendra Puri Maharaj, like Govinda Prabhuji used to do for Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's very good about it. I didn't know about that earlier. And you have beautifully explained everything because of your grasp of the Bengali language, especially the Gaudiya uh, style of Bengali that has explained everything, all this, bhakti, and they beautifully explained. Yeah, Bengali is such a beautiful language in explaining all these things, and your good grasp on the Bengali language that make it more, touching. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
All glories to Srila
Yeah,
Prabhupada. My
yeah,
mother tongue is not Bengali, but whatever little I know, it's through Prabhupada's books and the writings of the acharyas. And I'm very much, fortunate to come across.
it's a great language in explaining all these, especially Mahaprabhu, the Gaudiya Vaishnava things. It is explained in Bengali so beautifully, really heart touching, everything.
I hope my translation was okay because you all know Bengali here. At least I know that Asim Prabhu, Anu Prabhu, and Hariyar Prabhu, Bengali, and perhaps Gopal Prabhu, Gopal Joshi Prabhu, also I think because Odia and Bengali they are similar, right?
Yeah, Odia is also a very good language for it to be used on this line. But since everything in like Gaudiya Vaishnavas and most of the literature in Bengali, so that's how people used to know who, and your knowledge in Bengali is incredible to explain everything so beautifully. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Hariyar Prabhu.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody else that would like to say something before we?
We would like to hear from Nandapran Prabhuji.
From who?
Nandapran Prabhuji.
Nanda Prabhu. I don't think I see him anymore.
Anymore?
He
Oh, okay.
left a little bit, just a little bit ago.
Oh, okay.
So then, okay, something to digest, a lot to digest for our whole lifetimes, where we are. Hmm. विद्यार गौरवे भ्रमी देशे देशे धन उपार्जन कोरी तुम्हारे भूली नो हरी. This is what our situation is. We're going all over the world, making money. Vidyara Gaurave. Somebody is a doctor, engineer, this, that. Vidyara Gaurave. Brahmi Deshe Deshe. Going all over the world. Some of us, but no time for you, Hari. Bhuli nu tumhare Hari. Such a fact. Some of these bhajans are not for a particular time, they are eternal in nature. Although Bhaktivinoda Thakur ji had composed this perhaps about 150 years ago, it stands true today. So much.
This is Kali Yuga, and here right now, with people are thinking like who have more property, who have more houses, they are much more affluent, and they are like God. That's the only thing. The importance of education is not there. Earlier, we used to have a king used to pranam a guru or acharya, but
Absolutely.
now acharyas have to pranam the sudras.
Yeah, because they need money.
They have more money and they can buy more people, and they do politicize all these movements, bhakti movements.
Very sad, very sad. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada said that we don't stay in the bathroom for too long in a dirty place. A gentleman will get out fast. So hopefully we are in such an environment that we, hopefully by the mercy of Guru Gauranga, we will get out. And get out means, be completely Krishna conscious. So even if we are here, we will be assisting Srila Prabhupada in whatever capacity we can. Going back to Godhead is not my primary goal. Serving Krishna is the primary goal. And serving Krishna in completely on a transcendental platform is what is the real need. Otherwise, there are many demigods, 33 crores, even if we take that example, serving Krishna. But Krishna really needs, really appreciates those that are really without any material motive, simply serve him, simply love him. And that's what our goal should be after coming across Srila Prabhupada's teachings, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya's teachings. If we settle for something less, then no consolation prize, not interested. Mm. We pray that mm, thank you all so much. We are a small group, but I'm very happy, you know, to have all of your association. And simply, it is because of you all I'm getting encouraged. Uh, and amazingly, we've done so many programs in this COVID environment, and hopefully we'll continue even after COVID is over. You know, physically we will meet. We will do kirtan in our houses, have some nice Krishna prasadam, and when things are better, we will all go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri together. We will sit in those places. Gaur Amar's Jai Shabasthane, Korolo Brahmana Range, Shei Sthan, Heribo Ami, Pranay Bhakata Sange. Mm. So I'm waiting for that day where our ecstasy will know no bounds, uh, when we are all together in those places. Uh, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Gopal Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Prabhuji, it's wonderful talking. Just now, Anu Prabhuji was telling that I studied in my school like Swadese Pujyate Raja Vidwan Sarvatra Pujyate. The same thing. Like now it is changed. Like
Or the other way.
yeah, I mean, but the last line was Vidwan Sarvatra Pujyate. That was like previously, like people, I mean, Vidwan, wherever they go, they get like pranams and like all this samman. But now of course it is, but still, like, I mean, there are sattvic category of peoples are there. So I mean, not always like this, but yes, the Kali Yuga is really, I mean, demoralizing all those sattvic karma.
So true.
And one more thing, you were talking about that Bangla. So yes, I mean, Hariyar Prabhuji is because I talked to him once. So I found he is from the border district of Orissa. So which is
both the languages are spoken.
Yes. So he might have very good understanding of this.
Yeah.
But rest of the Orissa, since I am from Puri, so because we have a lot of tourists from Bengal, plus we have a lot of population of Bengali. So that's the reason of like interaction with Bengali. But we never, I mean, studied like formally with the Bangla writings and the fonts. So of course, I mean, but of course, whatever the verses you speak in Bangla, of course, I mean, it is okay with me. Like I do understand. So
my good fortune.
no, I'm fortunate that yes, I mean, it is like what
my
you
wife
are.
sometimes teases me. In your last life, you are a Bengali, and many people they say when I sing those songs or whatever, are you Bengali? When I go out in the temple or somewhere, I said no, Baba, but I love Bangla. That's because Mahaprabhu, has, and Chaitanya Charitamrita and all the Vaishnav songs, they really attract me. Someday maybe I will actually would like to learn Bangla, speak Bangla, and then then I will relish Chaitanya Charitamrita even more, in the sense that most of the words I understand. I have no issues there. But it's the mercy of Prabhupada. You know, by reading the Prabhupads, because sometimes if I'm stuck on a particular word, Prabhupada is right there with the translation, with the meaning of each and every word. So that helps. That helps tremendously. That's how even little bit Sanskrit, whatever I have not learned any formal Sanskrit or anything like that. So it's all due to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. All credit goes to him. So
But Prabhuji, your pronunciation, Bangla pronunciation is also fantastic. So that's what sometimes I'm also amazed, like getting your pronunciation, because Bangla has a different pronunciation. Even they when they speak Hindi, there is a different pronunciation. But but you are getting that essence as well. Thank you, Prabhuji.
in my younger days, I heard Prabhupada's tapes. They were also in Hindi, some of them. And Prabhupada's Hindi was so sweet because of the Bengali accent there. आज सवेरे और बलराम से मेरा झगड़ा हो गया, मैया मैं मिट्टी नहीं खाया, तो मैया बोला मुंह खोलो, तो बलराम झूठ बोलता है मैया, मैं कुछ नहीं किया. So Prabhupada, I heard Prabhupada, you know how this was his Hindi. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hari Bol.